Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Clarence Simmons with Loss Prevention Texas, and today we have a very special guest in our audience, or big audience, a little bitty room. Uh, we have Mr. Jimmy Rodriguez, and he's going to talk to us today. Jimmy and I go back a long way, and we want to welcome him to our program. Jimmy, good afternoon. How are
Good to
you?
see you, Clarence. I've enjoyed a lifetime of law enforcement with you, it seems like. And you are always a trusted friend and a great trainer. So it's always a pleasure doing anything that you want me to do. So here we are. And I hope we can discuss some law enforcement things, but also there are a lot of resources in this community, and I want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, we want to talk to you about all of those things. We want to talk to you about resources. We want to talk to you about and you have always been a great asset to the community. Your service, uh, uh, I tell military people thank you for your service. I want to tell you thank you for your service because of your service to the community and everyone else. Talk about unselfish, and that's where you're at, sir. So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Okay. Well, let me start with it was a God thing because actually, in all of my life, I've had five different careers, 10-year periods of time. And so God brought me, now I work for a ministry, and it's called Stitch Ministries, and I love it. And I'm on my 11th year, going on 11 now. So usually it's 10 years, but God hasn't told me what we're going to do next yet. But he will. I know he does. And so one of the jobs was obviously the sheriff's department, and I got to go to the FBI Academy, and so I learned how to do strategic planning. And so then I spent some time working for the FBI, Department of Justice, doing that very same thing. But yeah, I think you said it. There are assets out there, and I think all my life I've always had a passion for helping people. Uh, and not only the people that need us the most, but that's my first target. I lived or moved into the inner city, and that is right along Leopard Street and the 30 surrounding blocks. Probably has the most compelling risk factors there. Poverty, there's less educated people there, homelessness, and you name it. And in those 30 blocks, not that the whole community, there's needs everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but I moved into that neighborhood and I really enjoyed it. And we did a number of things, like tearing down the Tally Hole one day, where the most crimes, there were three major crimes there a day,
What he what
Clarence, a
he's what he's
daily.
talking about is the Tally Ho Motel used to be a. It sounded just like it is. The Tally Ho Motel was a place where a lot of things happen that really shouldn't happen in a good community, and
Well, I'll be more blunt than that. There were horrible things. We're talking about major crimes is rape and assaults and murder. You name it, it was going on there. Imagine in law enforcement getting three calls a day, year round. That was how much was going on there. And then the school district decided that they were building a brand new Oak Park Elementary School. And right next door, they wouldn't put a fence so that they wouldn't go around the telephone hotel. Made no sense at all. So we lobbied the neighbors and we went to to the uh, to the board of the school district, and we didn't want we wanted that not to happen because these are elementary kids, and so they're going to go right around that fence. By the way, um, but
what happened? You
well,
needed the school, but you didn't need the Tally Ho.
not next to each other either. That would be a horrible thing. So, because of what we did, they found other pockets of money, and so they bought the tally ho, and we got to operate the cranes to tear that place down. And today it's a beautiful playground, and the whole area is changing. I don't know what's going on with all of that, but that used to be downtown Corpus Christi back in a long time ago. You have beautiful pictures here in this office. So the Leopard Street was the main street. Obviously, it's not anymore, but it doesn't mean it can't get resurrected again. So we've had a blast there, going there, helping people there, and now I'm back there because I was asked to work for Stitch Ministries. So some of you may know that it's short for South Texas Children's Home. Never in my mind did I think I would be working, although I have a little ranch right next door to their main office up at north of Beeville. So I knew all about them. And so I was asked to go to a meeting of theirs and see what we can do to help them. And so, long story short, we did a strategic plan with them. And so today, what was their first person, they actually had a person that was running a program, and it was Christian Women's Job Corps. And so it's a great program, biblically based and that kind of thing. But it wasn't realistic to the population. In fact, it was on a side of town that's pretty wealthy. But when we learned that the statistics say that we should be in the 30s surrounding blocks from where my office is at a church today, Cross Bridge Fellowship, and it's actually, if you know what has recently happened, one of the resources is that there was an organization, you may remember, Clarence, on Alameda that was the Good Samaritan. And boy, you talk about high statistics. uh, there were at one point, there were 48 sex offenders living there. And from bed bugs to everything else, long story short, because of the Hearts of a Foundation here in town, there's now what used to be the Red Roof Inn off the freeway, going to the HEB there. And now it's a five-star agency that is for people that want to go through the narrow gate. Biblically, that means if you're willing to get a job, take care of that criminal charge that you had, and you want to live in a place where we respect each other. So we take those people.
Giving those people the opportunity to do the responsible things that they
That's
need to
right.
do.
I think given the choice, those that want to work, those are the ones we can invest in. The ones that just want a handout, we have handouts, but that's not the focus of the ministry over at Good Samaritan now. And so it used to be the Red Roof Inn, and now it's been renovated to a really nice complex, great living quarters. And in fact, they built a cafeteria that was 10 times more than what they asked for because the foundation that did that knew that there'll be times where a hurricane comes or a disaster, and we may need to feed thousands of people at one time. That's what can happen over there now. So we also resolved the thing about sex offenders. Look, you and I, back when we were in law enforcement, uh, there's a statute that says if you don't report, you're moving, and so if you are a sex offender and you're supposed to report, well, they can never find them, and so we don't know where they are. So back then, they asked law enforcement, the police department mostly, can y'all help us with this because we don't know where they are either. So that began, and it was a favor to that to the police department and to also the sheriff's department as well. But it turns out there weren't 48; there were only 26 sex offenders there. But maybe in the neighborhoods feel like, well, even one is too many. Well, but would you rather have them be walking around your streets and we don't know who they are? At least this way, look, there's ankle bracelets, there's cameras, there's all kinds of security. In fact, they could earn the right one day after the judge approves for them to be able to go to HEB across the street to buy a grocery. So that's what's there now, long story short, and
That takes some time.
takes some time and a lot of collaboration. But I think we can all be very proud of what's going on over on that same end of town that needed the most help. And it's happening right before our eyes. So that leads me to where the Stitch come in is because we have 9 ministries. This is really cool. Uh, there is counseling. And by the way, there's lots of counselors in the community. We're going to counsel based on what the Bible says. And so if you want someone else that's not biblical, we'll be happy to refer you there. But if you come with us, guess what the charge is, Clarence, for counseling? Counseling is pretty expensive. It won't cost you anything. Now, if you want to make a donation, we appreciate that. But God's been really good to Stitch Ministries. And so we have some of the best counselors. By the way, they have their master's level counseling degree and licenses and all the credentials, but we prefer to teach on based the biblical concepts and verses that are out there. So
So if someone needs the help, and they honestly need the help, they could come there and get that with going through the proper channels, of course, and it doesn't
absolutely.
cost that anything.
Not if you can't afford it. Look, if you can, great, then donate some to us. But if you can't, that's not a reason not to get your counseling. So we're going to give them that counseling, the same counseling that somebody would have paid for. And we have people that are just, God called them into counseling. And so now they get to do what God called them to do. So you're going to get great service. And that's just one of the nine. Let me move
So
on.
I guess nobody can say nobody will help me because now they have the help if they need it.
Absolutely. Well, and sometimes there's a waiting list, let me just say, because we're real popular in multiple sites throughout the state of Texas now. But you know what? What the enemy meant for bad with the pandemic turned into be a Zoom thing so that we can be anywhere, wherever they are by Zoom. We can still help them. And so we do a lot of Zooms, even when maybe there's not an opening here in Corpus Christi, but in Houston or San Antonio or Rockport or other places we can get a counselor that way. And in fact, if you worship at a church and you have a pastor, they can vouch for you. And if a cancellation comes up, we'll call you first. So just keep that in mind. So if you need that kind of service, that's what our ministry is about there. Then let me move on to others because we also have homes for children. That's what it was when it was South Texas Children's Home. It started 74 plus years ago. And so there was a lady that wanted to start an orphanage, and next thing you know, it's now homes for children. And this is important because it's a tremendous resource that if you're listening and your home is dysfunctional, or maybe you're going through a terrible divorce, or maybe you were abused and battered, but what about your kids? At our homes for families, they grow up on a farm. It's out in the rural area, very nice, grand oak trees, and it's not an institution. These are cottages, they're homes. And who lives in the home is a Christian couple. And so now the children come in, and you're going to be raised based on, again, what the Bible says with godly couples. And then we're going to send you to the public school. So it's Pettis ISD. And if you graduate and you stay with us that long, when you're done and you graduate, we're going to pay for for the choice of your college for the next 4 years. We'll pay for that. And so that's what it's important. Yeah, if you hear that we're having a fundraiser, give because it goes straight to them. It doesn't have to be that serious, but there have been story after stories, and I wish I had more time to do that, to tell you specific stories. So I'll give you one. There was a guy named Gian that lived right across Crossbridge Fellowship at the apartments that are there now. They're better now, but back then he was living with a mother that was a prostitute, living with brothers and sisters that were in gangs and drugs and that kind of thing. And yet the teachers at the middle school there, Driscoll, and in the high school said, that's a pretty good kid. He loves doing his homework. And so he came over and visited our church and this ministry that we started, Faith and Work, Faith and Finances. And he came over and says, do you mind if I borrow this church? Because at home I can't do my homework. It's too noisy. It's too dysfunctional. And I just want a place where I can have some quiet time to do my homework. Yeah, come on in. And then he saw the classes of the next two ministries. And this is what we started 10 years ago. Faith and Work and Faith and Finances. So those are two ministries that I helped put together. And today we're still doing it. And now we're going on to something bigger. I'll get back to that. Don't let me forget. And so what started 10 years ago, well, faith and work. Notice it's faith first, is that if you want a job, there are jobs. Workforce Solutions does amazing. They know where all the jobs are. What we need to work on is what is your purpose in life? What do you do really well? And if you know Jesus Christ, then what is God calling you to do? And so you should seek those kinds of jobs. And so we help with faith and work, how to get your purpose clear or what God may be calling you to do so that when you get to be our age, God, I wish I should have, could have, would have. The earlier the better. And it's easy if it's your purpose and you enjoy doing that. And by the way, God gifted you with those areas. And so if you have that, you're going to love it and you're going to succeed, and God gets all the glory. So faith and work, faith and finances. Again, it's faith first. So we run towards our faith, by the way, if you haven't noticed by now. And so What about money? We all need money. And so why don't we learn how to do a budget? And why don't we learn what a credit score is? And why don't we learn how you're going to manage that? And so we track every expense every week for about 10 weeks. Once a week, it's not like all week. So in an hour and a half, we're going to study these things and we're going to create a budget. And we're going to see that there's not enough money coming in than there is going out. So we're going to have to make some cuts. And it's painful when you have to cut the cord on cable or you can't afford to eat out anymore. And you can't, like Dave Ramsey says, he was poor too, by the way. And when they had rice and beans, and when they got tired of that, well, then they changed it and had beans and rice. Just turned around. Anyway, uh, it's tough at first, but it's for a season. Because if you have debt collected and you have terrible scores, you're never going to get a decent mortgage rate. You're never going to be able to get a car with a decent rate for that. You're going to pay twice or more than that in payments. And so we learned how to do that. There are experts. There is a Lavon Spears. I know you know her well. And so she's been in the banking business. It was the Teachers Credit Union. It's close to life now. 30 years doing that. And guess what they do over there? And she was an employee that helped create that. And so if you go there, they're going to help you with a credit score at no charge. Imagine that. Because there's people there that have a heart for helping people. Now, they don't care if you come to the bank or not, but if you do, they're nice people. If you don't have a church, you should find one because there's people there that can help. And so, where we're taking these two ministries, faith and work and faith and finances, now is going to become community ministries, way bigger than the vision we had. And that is that. And although we've had a great 10 years, we're in multiple places now. And now we've decided that we're going to spend some more money that God blessed us with and hire social workers and have a great vice president that is doing an amazing job. And so we are going to find out our mission is that we would discover every resource in every community that we're where we are right now. Obviously, Corpus Christi. We want them first online. Doesn't have to be that way, but where are all the resources? And if you have an organization and you're a nonprofit or you're a ministry or you're a church or you are a business, you want to know where to send your employees when they need help the most. Or you're members of the organization, whether it be a church or whatever. Everyone can use the knowledge of where the five-star agencies are in our community. I can tell you one of them, it's MHID, used to be MHMR. They not only have their own foundation, I get to help them, they also have lots of resources for homeless people, for people with bipolar, whatever the mental illness is. They have some really sharp tools over there that they know what they're doing right away. And you have to earn that too. You have to make, if you're going to come and they're going to make time for you, we have to change our system over the years because people were not showing up for their appointments where you get evaluated, where you meet the doctor that's going to help you, where you're going to get the help. And so now you come once, you fill out forms, and then they're going to call you in a week.
And something else, the services they give are not for just a few, they're for everyone that
Exactly.
needs
Yes.
that service. So uh,
Very
just
well
keep that
said,
in mind.
Clarence. That's right. Look, we want to help people. That means our community can be healthier, better able to meet the challenges that we have today, because there are great organizations, hundreds of them. So our mission now is that we get to know who they are and how we get access to them, or how can we refer or bring them over because they're the experts of that. Stitch is an expert at other things. Salvation Army, Good Samaritan. There are so many out there. We're just beginning to scratch the surface, and there's others. And so we want to network with them. We want to build relationships with them. And then one day, our goal is that we can train people on how to use a terminal just like the one you're sitting in front of there. And you can find out, and there's resources and help for everything these days. And if we were wise, and I think we are, we would then trust people to be trained on how to access that rather than giving them, yeah, here's a directory or here's a list of places. Good luck with that. Instead, why don't we say, oh, okay, I understand that trauma that you're going through or situation or whatever it is. And let me see here. You know what? There's 8 organizations that help with just that. You want me to make you an appointment right now? And they can. And then, okay, how are you going to get over there? Well, we're going to help them first time until they get their own. You know, the most incredible thing. So I serve on the board of trustees for MHID too, because they helped my daughter survive when she was born within the stimulation. So I will always give them my time because they saved my daughter. So I'm on the trustees as well because of her, Chrissy. Because I knew, or we learned where the resources were to help her. And everybody has this opportunity. And I would love to share that with you or help you figure that out because it's not that complicated. So once we started doing the board work with MHID, MHMR back then, I asked them to start bringing our clients because I wanted to hear from them, not our staff and reports and things, but them. So the first ones they brought, there were two ladies, and one of them was wearing credentials, and it says peer specialist on the credential for that agency, MHID. And I said, okay, so let's start with you. Well, I'm bipolar. And this organization helped me how to deal with it. And today I work for y'all, and I love what I do because I know what she's going through. And so now it's her turn to talk. The client is there. It's okay. What do you think? You know, if it weren't for her, I'd be dead. But she taught me how to take my medication. She reminds me when to do that. And I have this appointment and da 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 da. And one day I want to work for you. That can happen. And the more wiser we get and where the resources are so that we can get progress made, this is what our future holds. So be happy, be excited that you live in Corpus Christi because things are fixing to get way better. If we can put our pride away, sometimes there's agencies that don't want to share information, but if you do, we want to be the center of some of that. We're not the experts of everything, but we're pretty good at what we do. We have 9 ministries of our own. There's another one for it. I told you about the homes for children. So, by the way, these are your kids, not ours, but we will take good care of them in a Christian home. And let's say dad gets a job, mom gets a job, and come visit your kids anytime you want to. They're at a safe place and a beautiful place. And once you get a job going and you get an apartment, or better yet, buy a first home, and now you're ready for your kids to come home, great. Come get them. They're your kids. And if that doesn't happen, then not a bad place to grow up and have them go and get 4 years of the college of their choice. So back to Gian, his goal was to graduate from Miller High School and then to go to Kingsville A&M and get a degree and come back and help his family. A kid, elementary when we met, is doing that. He's about to graduate with a master's degree at Kingsville A&M to come back and help his family in Corpus Christi. There's tons of other stories. But back to the 9 ministries. We also have homes for children, I mean, families, meaning single moms and kids, families, homes for families. So if you're a mother, maybe you've been battered and abused or forgotten or whatever it is, you could go to a safe place. And there's a 4-phase program where we first give you peace and quiet and provide for you in phase one because your kids and the mother have been through a lot of trauma. And so we have counselors and everything there on that campus to help you with that. And then when you're ready, okay, now let's see what we're going to do for the future. So we're going to teach you how to, everything I've said so far, to get a job. And then take your kids and go back to your community when you're ready, not when we're ready. So yeah, there's 2 campuses for that. One in Goliad, one in Yoakum. But now we have offices in Victoria and Houston and Rio Grande Valley and Corpus Christi and several other places. So we're kind of spreading and we're excited about it. And so today I'm just here to tell you some of the things that go on in Corpus Christi. So that's what I've been doing, Clarence, and I love the direction we're going in on community ministries now. And so I can't wait to see what God's going to do to help the people of Corpus Christi or the whole coastal bend for that matter.
So, when do you sleep?
In law enforcement, I didn't get much sleep, and so, being the chief deputy, everybody gets the page, but it means you got to roll and go or make a decision and all that. So, and back then we had pagers, we didn't have cell phones and all that fancy
You have to
stuff.
explain what a pager is. Some of the people here don't even know what a pager
It's a little black box. It would beep to you and have a little message, so emergency or whatever it was. So that went off most of, several times a night. But that's okay because I signed up for that. Now, the thing is, though, yeah, and so now I wake up at 4, just as an automatic thing. So your body can be trained to do that. So early in the morning is a great time. So I have a regimen, a devotional time, and that kind of thing to get the day going. And then the day is always full of surprises, things we hadn't anticipated. And so good leadership and training on how do we manage all that. Well, back then it was a program called Priority Management. And Shane Nelson used to be on the Buffalo Bills Mathis boy that trained us how to, that there's this wheel and it's got spokes on the wheel. And so 10 of them that are the major ones. And so a wheel can't roll if some of those spokes are not there or broken. And so if you have just one, sometimes look, in law enforcement, that is your priority and it should be, but it's one of the priorities. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in law enforcement, and so we want to, it's a lot of them, lock them up, throw the key away kind of thing. Yeah, that's one way. Um, but what about your wife? What about your family? What about your church? What about your faith? What about your physicalness? What about those are the other spokes? And if those spokes are broken, then you're gonna have a hard life.
Somebody told me when I was in law enforcement, I was a advisor for the law enforcement explorers. And somebody said, well, why do you spend so much time with these kids? And I said, well, those kids are going to grow up to be adults,
Yeah,
and you want them to be a vital part of your community. Uh, so, do you want to have them work with you, or do you want that to be an issue? I think it's better to help people get them trained, and that way they're part of the community also, and
yeah,
it's not us against them.
that's right. In fact, if you show love to your kids, they love that instead of, oh, you're never gonna this or that or whatever. And so that's why would anybody do that? Instead, if you show some attention, some love, you might not agree with what they're doing, but there's a compromise somewhere, or else things will go the wrong way. But if you stay true to your love for your kids, so here's the thing. And so let's fast forward to what's happening right now. And it's the most amazing thing, that God will use the strangest ways to get our attention, mine too, on how we can have better churches of any denomination. We don't ever encourage or force somebody to go to a certain church. It's their decision. They're going to get to decide where they're going to go worship at. But how do we help the church? Whatever denomination you come from. And so the Bible's pretty clear. There's a great commission. And we want to explain the plan for salvation for eternity, and that's through Jesus Christ. And if we do that well, the church will take care of itself. In fact, it's pretty clear in the Bible if just one person will go get one person and disciple them. So exactly what Clarence was saying, if there's young people that need our guidance right now, imagine what it would be to spend an entire year showing them that we love you and we want to help you. And so that's the most rewarding thing. And here lately, there was a movie that came into town called The Forge. So to build a sword, I should have brought my sword. They have to forge that steel to be polished and sharp, and it takes a lot of pressure. So I'm going to pretend like this is a sword.
You better hold the other end.
It's the wrong end. Okay, so in the movie, I don't want to spoil the whole movie, by the way, because you can still get it, and there's some DVDs that are coming, so we'll be able to share this some more. But I went to that movie 7 times, Clarence, and each time I took people with me. And so it is possible, I'll get to the point, that people that are more mature, like you and I, we're still alive. And it's halftime right now. Actually, it's more like three quarters now. We might be done with the two last minutes. I'm not sure. No one knows but God. But look, our time is limited, and so what are we going to do to win more souls to eternity, or kids that need our attention, or for them to not go back to jail and prisons, but to have hope? And so, if you take the time just one on one, then the Bible also says the church will multiply. So, if Clarence, you and I went out and we got one young person each, and we know it's going to take, and there's all kinds of curriculums to help with this, we would spend that much time for one kid. Now, at the end of that year, after they've learned from wise people, hey, wasn't that fun? And it needs to be fun. Look, if he's got a soccer game or we're going to be enjoying, we're going to go with him and we're going to tell our friends, hey, uh, Gian is going to a spelling bee, or whatever it is. We should all go as a family to support that one. Kind of like my daughter, Chrissy. She used to be in Special Olympics. She can't anymore. She can't talk with a speeder, feed her with a spoon, all liquid stuff. Tough. But what we didn't realize when her physical therapist brought her a donation of a big walker, this bright green, and we call it, we have a name for it, that it is Fiona, if you remember that movie for kids, actually. And so with that, there was a lady that worked with us at Special Olympics back in the day. That was another career that I had. And now she has her own organization, nonprofit, and she had a race here recently where if you have a handicapped child, if they can take a step or two, that's their race. If they can do 2 miles, that's their race. And so everybody must finish their race. And the first time we took Chrissy, she got in her thing and the gun was fired and she takes off. Walking and running. Where did that come from? Well, apparently in Special Olympics, she used to stay in her lane by herself. But she can't anymore, but there's still something there that triggered her to run that race. And so the physical therapist says she gets every therapy because of MHMR and other places, but at the end of the race, the physical therapist, I think we're holding her back. So we find out so many things and we can. So if you had one, so look, do the math this way though. If Clarence and I go get one each and spend a year, then we're going to challenge the four of us. Let's go do it again. And when those four come back, now it's eight. And then multiply eight times double that every year. If you do that for 15 years, you're going to have a lot of people having fun, learning about each other. If you haven't seen the movie The Forge, you should go see it. If not, I'll have some DVDs. I'll invite you to our building to see it one day. So those are the fun things that are available, and that's not even talking about all the resources. Maybe another show, and I'll bring some friends if you want, Clarence. There's so many great things that we tend to ignore, we don't know, and so that maybe is the problem. Let's solve that problem. Let's collaborate with each other because look, here's another gift that God gave. So in our classes about finances, there's no charge for that, by the way. But we met a young lady that used to live in the barrio right next to that 30 surrounding blocks that I was telling you about, dirt poor. She didn't know how they were going to make it. Long story short, she became a realtor. And now she has five of her own homes, really nice big homes. That kid that right down the street from where my office is. And her name is Stephanie Kirkman. I don't mind saying it. I'm sure she'll let me if she has before. Anyway, we always invite her to the classes because she's the expert. I'm telling you right now, there's so many resources for people to buy that first time home. And those are benefits that are there. You should take advantage of them rather than spending your money on renting, although there's great apartments. I don't want to badmouth anybody. But you could be in your first home. Imagine the dignity that you would have having your own home and how you would care for it and the job you would have to sustain it. it's all possible. So uh, I always, call me when you want to know more, because I can refer you to her, and that's her job to do that. And by the way, she has other associates. One of them is the greatest shopper in the world. That home that you've been dreaming about, she'll find it. And they'll arrange for you to have the lowest mortgage payments. And they'll teach you how to improve your credit score. And
You
they'll
know,
follow up with you.
one of the things, I hate to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
uh, when we're talking about credit scores and things of that nature,
Mhm.
believe it or not, there's a lot of people that don't know what their credit score is. They don't know anything about it. They don't know about credit, and they're not gonna get it from Billy Bob, who's next door, because he doesn't know about it either.
Yeah.
That's like people that go and they'll go to Billy Bob and say, Billy Bob, I'm getting ready to have heart surgery. Can you help me out? Well, Billy Bob is not a surgeon. In order to get that heart surgery done right, or whatever it is, you
Good.
have to go to somebody that knows what they're doing. And uh, Jimmy is
That's good,
a
Clarence.
way of getting
Well,
you to that person. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
well, that's what I mean. I can't believe they pay us to do this, by the way. And look, when my parents died both at an early age when they retired. So I promised myself I'll never retire. The work might change, but I'm waiting on God to tell me what it will be next. But it certainly is this, helping more people right where they're at, so that they can get better and they can tell others how they did it. And the best testimony is not going to be mine, it's going to be theirs.
Yes.
Because we can look you right in the eye and say, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. We have no clue until you've been homeless, until you were without a job, until where you don't know what to do. And those are the people. My job is to get them to a certain point where they can go get people, because you can believe them because of their story, their testimony on how they did it. Same as the ladies that I was telling you about with being a peer specialist. They learned it. And it's easy for them to say it because they lived through it. So that's our goal, is to find more people so that we can expand faster. So if you're an organization and you're listening today, or a person, get a hold of Clarence. He knows how to find me. Look, we're here to help. I know that's sounds phony because the government also we're here to help. And sometimes they are. Yeah. But we can manage our own destiny, and that is people that are passionate about what they do with whatever service they offer, so that we'll know who to call or refer or bring over, or better yet, teach us. Or look, we have an organization over here. Can you come and present all at one time? Look, we have all those kinds of connections, and now so we're going to hire social workers as well to help us on this new endeavor. So you're going to hear a lot about community ministries, because that's what we're going to be now for the next 10 years or further.
Okay, Jimmy. Well, heck, you want to take a break and come back for more?
What, you're the boss
Well,
today, so you
heck,
tell me what we're
okay.
going to do.
Let's take a quick break again to give Jimmy a chance to catch his breath, and then we'll be back for a little bit more. See you in just a minute.
Bye.
Well, we'd like to say thank you, Jimmy, for coming in and being with us today. And you brought us a lot of wisdom, a lot of things to think about, a lot of family things to think about, and uh, what does someone do if they want to be a part of the group that you are
Sure.
doing right
Yeah.
now?
Well, you can call, get on the internet and find the Stitch, STCH Ministries, and then you'll find me there. You call Clarence. You can look up Crossbridge Fellowship. That's where we're having our ministry there. Um, and then, yeah, or check, on everywhere, Facebook or whatever. Um, and just get a hold of me or get a hold of Clarence. And so I've enjoyed the time with you, Clarence. Look, I love everything that we do. A lot of what we do involves good training. And so you're the expert at that. and I love the job that you do. I love your offices here. So good luck with that. And if you need uh, loss prevention ideas or law enforcement, any kind of training, call Clarence. So I'm just excited that if you do want to talk with me, I'll make myself available. Sometimes we get pretty busy, but I promise I'll call you back, or then we'll see how we might can help you. And it may be as simple as referring you to the right resource, um, but we also have people that love doing what we do together, and I look forward to helping you.
Okay, Jimmy. Well, thank you very much. And folks, it's been fun. Jimmy, again, it's been a while. And thank you.
You're a dear friend, and congratulations, and keep doing the great work that you do. Right? You're a trusted person in this community, and I've enjoyed knowing all the years that we've been together, and as many years as we have left. Who knows? But hopefully, we have some more time to help more people.
Well, thank you very much. Folks, it's time for us to go. And he's got another appointment to get to, and we want to make sure he gets there on time. So, y'all take care. God bless you, and have a good day.
Blessings.
Bye bye for now.